So it turns out this historical restoration has taken more than 2 years to even get to the starting line. And that's how it is. Let me introduce you to Brevard, North Carolina, and one of the coolest rehabs we've ever attempted, but also help you understand that when you're doing a historical rehab, the timelines may be completely different than a typical rehab. We have been 2 years in just getting the initial historical nomination done, the study presented national and voted on. We bought this property in January, February of 2023. It is still not even started in June of 2025. This is a walkthrough that I did for some of my investors, but it really shows how we think through a property and how we think through, hey, here are the upsides that we see, here are the downsides that we see, here are the risks that we see, and do we think it's going to be worth our time, effort, and energy? We bought it for $60,000. These numbers are way out of date, just because it's going to be worth substantially more and it's going to cost substantially more to do. But it is now June of 2025 and we are still in the process of getting the historical nomination through. So I'm going to do an update on this, but before I do an update and bring everyone up to speed in 2025, I want to introduce you to one of the coolest projects we've ever undertaken, which is Brevard, North Carolina, historical restoration, second oldest house in Transylvania County. We'll probably start construction on this property sometime in early 2026 after we finish our project at Willow Creek. Willow Creek's got all the money right now. It's got all our capital right now. If anyone ever watching wants to get involved and wants to help out with any of these projects, feel free to DM us. That's part of the reason for sharing all the knowledge for free.
My wife and I have loved a little town called Brevard, North Carolina for my whole life. I actually grew up in not Brevard. This is Western North Carolina. If you zoom out a little bit on this map, you will. I grew up in a little town called Hendersonville, which is right here, which is only about 25 minutes south of Asheville, North Carolina. But because of some things that happened when I was young, I ended up going to church in Brevard for about 2.5 years, which is only about 20 minutes away. So we had a little branch in Brevard. My ward was in Hendersonville, but I ended up doing a lot of my church service when I was young in Brevard. When I was really young, Brevard's economy was really rough because some major employers went under. I was too young to really know, but there was a paper mill that shut down, and there was a major film maker that shut down. DuPont shut down a facility, and Acosta shut down a facility. But those both happened when I was young enough not to really know. All I knew was Brevard's economy was in the toilet for a lot of my life. However, what's interesting about Brevard is that it is in the middle of a whole ton of state forests, right? It's near Asheville, but here you have
Pisgah National Forest. Right here is DuPont State Forest. And then basically all of this is the Nantahala, all the way basically until you get to Atlanta or Chattanooga, Tennessee. The long and the short is Brevard is a little beautiful mountain town surrounded on all sides by the most beautiful country that Western North Carolina has to offer.
There's trips you can take in Brevard to see 100 waterfalls in an hour. It's nestled in the middle of just national forest on all sides. It's gorgeous beyond all reason. I see it being the next Park City, right? Like where they just keep building. They're building beautiful golf courses in the trees on all sides and just a really beautiful spot. So my wife and I have looked for a second property in Brevard. Some of the greatest mountain biking in the world is in Brevard. There's just a lot of stuff going on there that we like. However, as we've looked at Brevard, the whole world has looked at Brevard, and we've seen that the price has really gone through the roof on everything. So if you look at Brevard, and I've set this basically up, and I like to rehab things that worst case scenario I could live in, right? So I always am looking at 4-bedroom, 2-bath, because the backstop when you're rehabbing a house or when I'm rehabbing a house is, hey, if it all goes to crap, can I move into it? Right? Can I at least live in it? And can I backstop it personally? Right? And that's helped us a lot in the past. We've never had a rehab go bad, but we've always got that in the back of our mind. Hey, if it all goes bad, we can live in it. Right? 2,200 square feet, at least in a quarter acre. So we're basically looking at, hey, what type of house would I want to buy? It helps us because we're always looking at houses for me and my wife anyways. We're always looking at rehabbing stuff that we understand. So we get to know what it's worth. And you can see right here, right now on the market, There's only one, two, three, four, five, six houses, and they range from $600,000, 580 on the low end, all the way up to 2.6 million on the high end. And so that's really quite the range. What I would like to help you understand is this has been on our favorites for a long time now. This is our favorites. We look at houses all the time. My wife and I, we love houses. We're never going to stop loving houses. We look at houses all the time. We favorite them. We send them back and forth to each other. But this has been on our list for a long while. Now, it just went under contract today, and our capital's deployed. But had we had a little more capital, we probably would have bought this because it's just exactly what we would like to do for our next project. If you look at it, it's on an acre and a half. It's 2,000 square feet, so it's a little on the small side for a family like mine, but it's still 400 grand, and it gives us a really good view of what I would call a before you come, right? So it's showing us, hey, what is a house before you do anything to it that's got a little bit of acreage in Brevard, North Carolina worth. But you can see from these pictures, this house is pretty gross, right? We're talking everything about it screams right out of the 70s. It's really blocky. You can see this is the kitchen right here in this little room, right? So it's not been opened up. It's not got any concept of open concept. All the carpet looks old and worn. The cabinets in the kitchen, that's 70s builder basic cabinetry, not been updated. No one's really touched this house. Someone lived there their whole lives, but this whole house, every single surface of this house, drop panel ceilings, like everything about this house needs to be touched, right? And even then, 2,000 square feet, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, it's still $400,000. So a house like this, I would look at and I would say, hey, it's not that expensive. Nothing is structurally wrong with it. So what I would say is, if you go into that house with 400 grand, if you spend 150 grand, you can be into it 550 grand. And if you get out to it in the 650 grand range, because everything's now brand new, well, $50,000 goes to realtors and then $50,000 is profit. And it's just not that hard to flip. You're talking move a couple of walls, do a little bit of carpet, a little bit of paint. It's just not that intensive a flip. My wife and I have done a lot of these. Like this style flip, we've done a lot of. The reason I show you is number one, it's a cool flip. I would have it's still ugly. It's still a really ugly house in Brevard, and it's still $400,000. And so to put that in kind of initial context is where I want you guys to understand the deal that we're working on right now. Now, the deal we're working on right now is a historic property. This house came on the market year before last at $160,000. And we saw it at 160, and as you can see, it looks like it's just about to fall over. A stiff wind could take that thing down, all right? And we looked at it and we saw, okay, it's a historical property. It's the second oldest house in Transylvania County, which is the county Brevard resides in. And we looked at it, and the land, it's on 0.82 acres, right? So it's on a little bit of acreage, and it's in a really convenient spot. Let's kick out to that real quick so I can show you what that is. So this is Brevard. There's only two real entrances into Brevard. You can come down from Asheville or you can come over from Hendersonville. Brevard proper is here. There's the Brevard the Brevard College, an incredible kind of music conservatorium for all of the South. And then there's Pisgah Forest. And right here is the heart and soul of Brevard, is one of those two things. So you're either talking downtown Brevard, but 15 little bike shops and this and that and the other, or the entry to Pisgah Forest. Those are really the two hubs. And there's a big, huge climbing store here called the Hub, and the Walmart is here and all that stuff. The house that we're looking at is literally right here, right in the middle of them both. Okay, it's less than 5 minutes from anything in Brevard. We've already bought this house because we had a lender say, hey, if you're interested at that price, go ahead and move forward. So we've already bought it, but we just haven't started the rehab yet. That's going to be next after we finish the burnt house and make a plan for this one. So this one's going to be quite a bit, but it's super centrally located. We really love it. We went out, we spent a weekend out there just driving all around, less than 10 minutes from everything. It's a spectacular house, but it is old and gross. And the pictures are way worse than it actually is. Yes, it needs a new roof. Yes, it needs the siding to be repainted and replaced. But it's a historical property, which adds a lot of very interestingness. Now, it is 7 bedrooms. They say 7 baths. It could very well have that many. And it's about 3,500 square feet. So it's a large house. And it was built in a couple of phases in the 1800s, 1840s, this phase, 1860s, this phase. It lived a grand old life, and it's fallen into disrepair in the last 20 years. Now, the reason we're interested in this house is because it came on the market at 160,000, and at 160,000 we just couldn't find a way to do it profitably. Okay, we've never done a historic property before. We know the generalities of it. We know we can hire a restorationist to help us with that. But the truth is, we just didn't feel comfortable at 160,000. It drew 100,000. And at that price, we got very interested. And so we started doing some behind the scenes research and saying, hey, that could be an incredible property at $100,000. And we still just didn't make an offer on it because we just didn't feel super comfortable. And then it dropped to $60,000 earlier this year, and it got all sorts of offers. We put in an offer of $52,000, and it was like sight unseen, no inspection. It was from a bank, from a foreclosure, and we didn't get it at $52,000. They basically accepted someone's offer at $64,000. And then that person just really didn't have the cash. They wanted inspections. They hadn't read the whatever. So they didn't get it. We didn't get it. The bank just said, oh, whatever. And so we looked at it and we said, we really should have offered 60,000. Like, it could be a really good deal. We had our family go out and walk the property, tell us what they thought of the property. We knew we could go out and inspect the property. And so we went and did that. We spent a whole week doing that. When it dropped to 60,000, we got really interested because we've been watching the market enough to know that we can't buy anything in the market that's not, in the $400,000 range. Like, even stuff that needs $150,000 of work is in the $400,000 range. And that really leads us to the opportunity, right? I've tried to get a good view of what's on the market and what it costs. Here's a really decent comp, all right? It's 1,000 square feet smaller. So this is a decent comp, $650,000, a quarter of an acre instead of 0.82, 1,000 square feet smaller, nicer location. Not more central location, but a nicer, more tree-lined lot. So you look at this, it's still from the 70s, but it's 70s clean. And this house is trees on all sides. There's a lot to like for that. Our house doesn't have trees on all sides. It's developed into an industrial area that I'm going to address here in a minute. But the long and the short is, it's a nice house. It needs some love, some work, but there's a lot to like about this house. $650,000 for something a little smaller in Brevard, North Carolina, just to live in. All right. So that gives us a good idea of, okay, 650 is not out of the range of possibilities. And so we look at this house, okay, 1.5 million. What can you buy for 1.5 million in Brevard? Big, gorgeous, beautiful thing, right in the wood everywhere, nice everything. Everything's pretty not decked out, not new, but all very nice stuff. And so $650,000 on the end of things, 1.5 million on the higher end of things. But that $650,000 house really is not 100% done. And so all decked out, you're probably talking about this Brevard house in the so starting at $700,000, $800,000 range on the high end, that could be where we end up. So what I'd like to say is this project has all of the earmarks of a home run, if I'm perfectly candid. We're buying it for $60,000, and I think it's going to cost about $600,000 to rehab. And this is where the tax credits come in. This house is a historical restoration. We can get it on the historical registry, both in Brevard and on the National Historical Registry. They opened a survey for that in 2002. So it's already been surveyed. They've already told us what we need. And we just won't start repairing it until we have a plan approved by the Historical Restoration Society and have jumped through that. But the nice thing about this house is the federal government will pay 20% of all repair costs as a tax credit. And we can spread that over 1, 3, or 5 years. So we can really spread that over some time and take advantage of that tax credit. The state of North Carolina if we were to be North Carolina residents. So we're actually considering heading to Asheville for a year or two to oversee this project and continue building Bedrock. Truth of the matter is, Bedrock can be anywhere. We love Brevard. We wouldn't mind spending some time there. State of North Carolina will pony up another 20% if we do this project and restore one of their beautiful old buildings. So that means if we were to get both tax credits, and it was to cost $600,000 to restore, the federal tax credit's going to be $120,000 tax credit. The state tax credit is going to be another $120,000 tax credit, or they're willing to fit $240,000 of the bill, which means our all-in here could be $360,000 plus our purchase of $60,000, which means we could be all in on this property about the same amount, $420,000, about the same amount that it would cost us to buy our subject property that still needs an entire top to bottom rehab that is 1,000 square feet smaller. So I think we're just looking down the barrel of something that could be amazing. Now, beyond that, when we bought Brevard, we understood there were a lot of things changing in the region. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this area. The area hasn't developed really well. It's such an old house. It has developed kind of industrial, right? Now, this is the Brevard property. For some reason, someone blurred it on Google Maps. I might be able to get that undone because I'm the owner of the property now, but we'll have to see. Across from the property, there's this beautiful small private farm, nice picket fence, private farm, a lot of security on that farm, right? And then as you go towards town, there's a kind of lovely older little old white house, little old brown house, and then there's this big A green, really ugly building. I'm not sure what, like a metal fabricator or something. And so you go on down, there's a little house closer, and then there's a small trailer park that's 11 trailers. And so the area just hasn't developed well. Got this big ugly green building here, a little gas station, trailer park, 11 trailers, and then you have these one, two, three, four little commercial buildings, and then you have another road that kind of shoots off. When we were considering buying this property, we heard a lot of rumors around development in the area. And so we're decided, hey, we can happily sit on this property until we see some development that goes well. There's nothing that says we have to go and do this project right now. But we heard rumors and we had an idea of some of the positives that were coming our way. And this just dropped last week. I just shared this with a lender last week. But this is a proposed roundabout by this house. So this plan was just finally approved by NCDOT, so North Carolina Department of Transportation. And it is a proposed roundabout being added to this exact area where the house is. If you are looking at this to try and get your orientation, this is the big private farm with the big beautiful fence. This is the subject property that we bought with the big star. They're going to be widening the road and adding bike paths. I'll get to that in a minute on both sides, which weren't there originally. And then they're going to be adding a large roundabout. Now, Brevard has embraced the roundabout. There's 5 or 6 new roundabouts all over Brevard. What we love about this one specifically is it's cleaning up the area a lot. For example, they're taking the corner off of this big green building, the big green metal fabricator or something. So the city is buying the entire lot and just going to level it, and it looks like it's going to be green space. The roundabout is going to eat the small black house. The roundabout is going to eat the entire trailer park, because what they're trying to do is, if you remember, there was a road that kind of came off up here. They're trying to route traffic through the roundabout and straight through where that trailer park sits. And so it's going to eat the whole trailer park. It's going to eat the big ugly green building. And then you see these 4 commercial buildings, those small commercial buildings, it's going to eat those too. So the roundabout's going to sit in the middle of all of that. And so when you come in from the main south way to get into Brevard, let's go back to that map. So what's happening here is, you can see This major road comes down, it has this funky little jog, and it goes down that way. If you go to satellite there, you can see it comes down. Here's that trailer park. Here's the road. They're wanting to just connect these two roads together like that. So here's where the roundabout's going to sit. It's going to clean up that whole kind of semi-commercial area. The city's going to own this piece. Here's the subject house. So that's great news. There's some great news happening, really cleaning up the immediate vicinity. The second thing that we know is happening with this property is what is called the Akusta Trail. Now, the Akusta Trail is a 20-mile long bicycle trail from Hendersonville, the town I grew up in, along the main route, just along where the train track was. They're not using the train track anymore, so they've already approved funding and they've already started the demo of the old train track. So it's a 20-mile-an-hour bike trail from Hendersonville to Brevard. Now, if you look at this, it just goes along Highway 64. But if you look at it, you can overlay this, and it's kind of hilarious. So let's do that real quick just for fun. Let's go back out to, I don't know if it's traffic. Okay, let's go out to a map. So if you go out there and you try to get us into the same view, there you go.
If you're new to the channel, let me take a quick minute to introduce you to why you might be interested in what we're doing. My name is Jeremy Watson. Over my lifetime, I've started between 17 to 30 companies, depending on how you count. What I'm doing with this channel is I'm trying to share as much knowledge as I can for free. If I was starting one place on the channel right now, I would actually start right here with Trump's tariffs explained. My reason for that is I own 7 different companies that I'm running currently. One of those is a bandage company that actually imports from China. So we were directly impacted by the tariffs. We actually put that whole process of the tariffs the day after Liberation Day up on a whiteboard and just talked through all of the moving pieces of tariffs. Okay, we talked about how long it took us to build our supply chains in China, what effort that took, how we price our product that comes in from China, where tariffs impact those products, where tariffs impact employment, national security. I tried to give kind of a wider view through my lens of financial advice, you know, how they affect revenue, how they affect taxes, how they affect repatriation of jobs, how they take rebuilding factories stateside. I was really trying to help people understand how complicated tariffs are. And I think this is the best thing I've seen online from anyone to actually walk through all the different ways that tariffs impact the economy, and especially any business that is importing. That is one of 7 companies that I currently own. You may be interested in the Turo business, which has 23 cars in Charleston. We've been on that platform for 3 years, and I try to give a lot of examples of what we're making, what we're spending, how is it profitable. Because unfortunately, a lot of people out there are selling courses, and you buy a course, you spend money, you get into it, only to realize the things that I would happily teach you for free. We talk a lot about our rental portfolio in Bedrock. Over the last 15 years, we've helped people buy like 5,000 properties. We are actively running a lot of those properties for our owners, dealing with the property management, the LLC setup, compliance, administration, bank account setup, oversight, tax prep. We're working with all of that on hundreds of properties a month. I try to help in that piece of the channel talk about what makes a good rental, why you might want a rental, what type of asset classes I think it fundamentally beats, what it does better than, how it compares to other passive real estate investments, and how you can get involved in real estate investment. For 10 years of my life, I was adjacent to financial advice and retirement planning. I was consulting actively on like $300 million. I see the world through that lens now of what assets did I see work, what assets did I not see work, what pain did I see people go through, and how would I like to help people avoid that pain. The goal from the channel is to share all the entrepreneurship of these 7 companies I'm running, all the entrepreneurship of the other 23 companies that I've started in one way or another, and a decade of financial advice, looking at a ton of people's assets and a ton of people's money, and having long conversations every single day about what they were going through and how they were liking what they had invested in for the last 30, 40, 50 years. If that interests you, look around. I think you'll find a lot of value. I'm going to give all of this value away for free. I'm not going to sell a course. I'm not going to ask you for your credit card. At this point, I've probably spent about 2,000 hours working on this project. If you like what you see, and would like to see some more, please subscribe. That'll mean you see everything that comes out of the channel. If you really like what you see and you want me to make more of that, like and subscribe, because then I know, hey, a lot of people like this. I need to do some more of this style content. And if you love what you see and you want the channel to grow, like, subscribe, and share this with someone you know who would like it. It is the most help you can be. It is more helpful than money at this stage. I really appreciate you watching. If you're loving it, like, subscribe, share it with someone you know. I appreciate you being here.
So it's a 20-mile-an-hour bike trail from Hendersonville to Brevard. Now, if you look at this, it just goes along Highway 64. But if you look at it, you can overlay this, and it's kind of hilarious. So let's do that real quick just for fun. Let's go back out to, I don't know if it's traffic. Okay, let's go out to a map. So if you go out there and you try to get us into the same view, there you go. You can see the Acosta Trail. Maybe I can't do this side by side. Maybe I can. There we go. All right, so you can see it's starting off over here in Hendersonville. It's going down 64, up, and then down 64, kind of has that little jog, down, and then it's not cutting across here, right? It's actually coming over, looks like it's coming over here. It is cutting across there, but it's not going straight up into like Pisgah Forest. It's going down here. That's this section right here, right? It's going down here and then cutting over, and it's going to end right here, which you can see is directly in front of the subject property. And so the entirety of this Pisgah Forest bike trail, this 20-mile-an-hour redevelopment project that connects Hendersonville to Brevard the entire way, 20 miles of bike, is going to end right here where the house is. And so that's why they're widening our roads and adding bike paths on both sides. It's because the acoustic, and my wife was really into this property and she felt super good about this property. And we made sure we lined up separate funds to go and get it so it didn't affect the burnt house. But as we look at the more and more stuff that's going on in that area, it just has all the earmarks of a grand slam. So that's step 2. And then step 3, we knew there was a plan in place, but we didn't have all the numbers in place yet for what was called Brevard Village. Okay. What has happened is last year, the old paper mill, if you look at Brevard, here is Pisgah Forest entrance, over here is downtown Brevard. There was a 544-acre paper mill that kind of was one of those jobs that went under in Brevard when I was really young. It has just been sold off to a developer, and they're planning on making it mixed use. So 1,000 residences, doctor's office, dentist office, think of Park City, right? And as you look at that map, you'll see that it is absolutely almost surrounding the subject property on all sides, right? So subject property is right here, right here. You can see, hey, they've just done a major deal, $20 million land purchase. A major developer has already put out their initial plans for developing this entire area. And so, again, I think the future is just really bright. You know, we're going to fix the stuff around it. It's on the main entry to Brevard, one of the main 2 entries. It's close to Pisgah. It's close to Brevard. It's going to be on the train track, the Acosta Trail that's coming in. And over the next 5 years, probably all of this is going to develop. And we've got all these incredible things that are all happening. I've even got a picture of what the phase 1 development has been proposed. This section right here, they've already put out initial drafts. This is kind of going to be what it's going to look like. Commercial, high-end commercial, condos, townhouses, single-family residences. And so we're just really excited about this project. It's not every day that you can buy something for this cheap, where there's this much positive stuff all moving in the right direction with tax credits.
I hope you enjoyed that. Just a big synopsis of how we think about a property before we actually put money across the board, before we commit, before we bring investors on. Brevard, North Carolina, that should be amazing. If I was to start anywhere else on the channel right now and kind of look around based on this video, I would actually look at this right here, enormous rehab. That is the Willow Creek video. It's awesome. It's $1 million purchase, probably $2 million rehab. It got hit by Hurricane Helene, got crazy after Hurricane Helene. The permitting on that one has been wild. The appraisal process on that one has been wild. I'd watch Enormous Rehab, and then that one's going to lead you right into Warning Renovation Disaster. I think that's my favorite video on the entire channel, just because it was 7 months of gut-twisting, entrepreneurial greatness. It has to do with Willow Creek, it has to do with our permitting, and just how complicated the permitting got after Hurricane Helene. That was just an amazing video. So I would start with Enormous Rehab if you haven't seen it. If you have seen Enormous Rehab, I'd go watch Warning Renovation Disaster. That one didn't get as good views. I think we titled it wrong. But that's where I'd go next. I'd go to Enormous Rehab and watch the Willow Creek Rehab, which is well underway already.